All right, here we are with the Teachers Talking Hoops podcast, the recap of the first round of the NCAA tournament. How's it going, Adam?
It's good, tough loss on Saturday, but can't win them all. We
Yeah,
are, of course, dominating our bracket challenge per usual.
as always. You more so than me.
Yeah, a little bit. We're both sitting pretty nice at the bottom,
Uh
hoping for a couple of other upsets.
huh. And I at least have surpassed Wiley because he was beating me for a while. Uh,
Mm,
but I'm in a better spot now, and I think um I got some potential to. I don't know even know. I mean, I got Duke to win it all. All that matters, right?
mm,
Although I lost, I guess we'll get into some of these upsets real briefly about what went wrong with our brackets,
hmm
such as Louisville, um, and,
Everything went
and
wrong with
and
our
Clemson.
brackets.
Like anything associated with the ACC went wrong for me except for
Yeah,
Duke.
that's for sure. That's the last time you know what, I tried to be generous to you, and this is what happens.
So uh, let's do we want to start with Calipari or do we want to start with Duke?
We can start with Duke.
All right. So couple quick things on Duke. I think that they were. So I asked you what was the most impressive game of the tournament, or impressive kind of team performance in the tournament. And I don't know if that was Duke necessarily. I've got to see exactly who I think that might have been. But I do think that as an overall team, Duke has probably been the most impressive team thus far in the tournament.
Mhm.
And obviously, you're with when you're playing a 16 seed, it's hard to kind of judge how impressive you are. But I think with just the way they've been playing defense and shooting the ball and sharing the ball, um, they've they've been one of, if not the most impressive teams overall.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, we all saw the Mount St. Mary's one coming, but
Yeah,
I mean, most of the starters didn't even play
yeah,
one half. Basically, the whole starting lineup played about 18 minutes total.
yeah. I mean, I
Um,
think Darren Harris got in with like 8 or 10 minutes left in the game. So
yeah, and he's like a 3 4 minute guy.
yeah,
But no, I mean and then they demolished Baylor like that. And I mean, Baylor wasn't the best team, but Baylor gave them some trouble in the first half. But I think the Arizona game, I think they're gonna, blow out Arizona too. But
yeah.
um, whether they play BYU or Alabama, I think that's gonna be really their first test. But
I
I
do
mean
think
this
I was just gonna say I think Alabama is a little scarier.
mhm,
Um, just because, well, I think Alabama is a little less predictable than
yes.
BYU, but I think if you get the best of Alabama, like the
Hmm.
best of Alabama versus the best of BYU, the best of
Right.
Alabama is scarier.
Right. Yeah. I agree too. And I think because it's like Alabama, right? Everybody on that team matches up really well with Duke.
Yeah,
Because then Man is guarded by Amori, and then Cooper Flag will have Stevenson or Diabate, both long defenders, um, and Mark Sears, and then Phylon off the bench. I mean that would be probably a very high paced game, very high scoring game. Not to say that BYU couldn't beat Duke either, but BYU is a different team. Um, I think they're a completely different team than Bama.
yeah,
If we're being honest, I think BYU is a little more intentional with what they do
hmm,
than Alabama, who's more of a fast paced, uh, run and gun tempo kind of team. But I mean, Duke's rolling right now. There's no reason why we can't put them in the upper echelon of teams that have a shot to win the title. I think, as we whittle it down, there's, about 4 or 5 teams that we can see that we feel confident in. Auburn not being one of them, even though I picked them. I'm not particularly confident anymore,
yeah,
but um, I think Duke's one of those teams that, you could see at the end hoisting up the championship for sure.
yeah. And like I said, I wasn't gonna belabor the Duke thing here. I think Shire's been pretty good this season at making adjustments,
Hmm.
in-game adjustments. I think the theme all year really with Duke has been unselfishness.
Uh-huh.
I think that's important in winning a tournament is just everyone knowing that the goal is to win the tournament.
Right.
And I think that's been pretty clear to them all year. And I don't think it's a team that necessarily plays young. Malawach is young. He might actually be the one that plays the youngest because
But he's
Knipple,
playing better.
he's playing a lot better. But
Yep.
Knipple plays Knipple is a better version of Ryan Young.
Yeah.
Like he just has this mature, like he's the guy that is playing pickup basketball at the Y that's just like pump faking and pump faking
Hmm.
and pump faking and
Yeah.
eventually scoring.
Right.
And then Flag, I was thinking about this the other day. Flag has played in so many big games for how
Right.
talented a player he is that, like, sure, this is different,
Hmm.
but how much different is it really? Like
Right.
he's had
Exactly.
pressure on his back for a long time now.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you know what? He's looked really good coming off, the ankle injury.
Hmm.
We all wondered if it was going to inhibit him a little, but I mean, Sunday he goes out and, he plays 29 minutes, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 18 points, pretty efficient from the field.
Yep.
Um, but like, I think that's a win too. If you can play Cooper Flag under 30 minutes a game
Yeah.
and still come out with a 23-point win and save him for the later rounds,
Yep.
where sure, like you can say the ankle's 100%, but we all know it's not 100%. Like he just sprained it pretty badly 2 weeks ago, so that's another win for Duke. Is all their guys. I mean, nobody in that starting lineup played over 30 minutes except
Yeah.
Tyrese Proctor. Um, so that's huge. I mean, people are like, oh, 10 minutes. Yeah, whatever, 10 minutes. No, 10 minutes is a huge deal in the NCAA tournament because that's 10 extra minutes, and now a Sweet 16 game, say that goes to overtime, that Duke has under
Yep.
its legs that another team just doesn't have.
Yeah. And so I've got two two things. I got a complaint and a
Hmm.
stat. I do have a stat here.
Okay.
So both of these are about the Sweet 16.
Okay.
Speaking of which, like, they're going in Sweet 16 and you got to rest a little bit. I assume that since they were Friday, Sunday, I don't know why I thought this, but since they were Friday and Sunday, they would remain Friday, Sunday. But their
But they're
Thursday
not.
game, that's fine. Whatever, a day less of rest, not a huge deal. But they're the 9:39 game or whatever, which is, as we know, really a 10 o'clock game.
Right. Yeah.
It's a 10 o'clock game in Jersey. So
Right.
that's a real 10 o'clock game. That's not
Yeah.
like a fake 10 o'clock game. So this is a
Right.
10 o'clock game in Jersey, and I was thinking about this. Of Duke has the advantage because there is a lot of fans out in the
Hmm.
Northeast for Duke, um, but they're playing an Arizona team that I meant to look this up today because I didn't want to sound dumb on the podcast, but I believe Arizona is in the Pacific time zone. So Arizona is used to playing at 10 o'clock Eastern time zone. That's when their games
Hmm.
are. And so I'm just curious. These guys can hoop in whatever, but 10 o'clock shooting some threes is different than 5 o'clock shooting some threes.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, side note, I did look at tickets for that. Safe to say, I will not be going to that.
I looked
It,
them up too. If those tickets could get you into the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight,
oh yeah,
it'd be
absolutely,
cool.
yeah, yeah. But safe to say, we will not be seeing each other
Yeah,
at in Newark
yeah,
this weekend. But yeah, no, I mean, you're right, but I mean, yeah, Duke, sure, they've had two early games, but I mean, they've also played at Arizona
yeah,
this year. Um, and then they played in Las Vegas, so that they know what it's. But yeah, you're right. There is a difference. Um, I don't think Arizona has enough. I Akron was whatever.
yeah,
Arizona, that was a good win, but I don't know because I think Duke would have blown out Oregon too.
yeah,
Um, I just don't see anybody even coming close to stopping them until they play the winner of Alabama BYU, and I'd be totally shocked if they lost on Thursday because it's pretty safe to assume that they're really the heavyweight
Yeah.
right now favorite to win the title. I think the only team that's really standing in their way is Alabama or Tennessee.
Hmm.
Um, and if they can beat that, they're probably going to be waiting for either Michigan State or, I mean, I hope Florida loses. That's my take, but we'll get to that later. But I mean, yeah, they look really good right now. I wouldn't be nervous about anything. I think they're gonna blow them out. To be honest,
I do have a quick statistic. Then we can move on
what,
from Duke.
what what's your oh, that was your okay. So your
That's
statistic.
okay. So the narrative has been pushed, right? This is Caleb Love versus Duke, and obviously you go back to Caleb Love and the Coach K game, and his kind of early success with that. And I do think that Caleb Love, they need Caleb Love to go off in that game. That doesn't
Hmm.
guarantee a win for them. Caleb Love
Right.
scoring 30 points doesn't mean they're going
Hmm.
to win the game.
Right.
Um, but in the past 4 games that Caleb Love has played against Duke,
Hmm.
these past 4 games have been while Tyrese Proctor's on campus. So these are the
Hmm.
last 4 games that he has played. He's been covered by Tyrese Proctor. Caleb Love is 1-3. He's shooting 28% from the field, 14% from the 3-point line, 10.5 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 3 turnovers.
Mm.
And my final point on Duke is: did you see the press conference with John Shire where he teared up about Tyrese Proctor?
No, I saw the one where he consoled Jeremy Roach.
That was tough.
That
But
was that.
look up his press conference where he starts crying about Tyrese Proctor,
Okay.
and that told me, I was like, Tyrese Proctor is going to see that, and there's no way that Caleb Love goes off on him, because that was like a proud coach moment, and like there's no way Tyrese Proctor lets him down now.
Well, did you see Arizona after they found out they were going to beat Duke?
Yes. Yeah.
It's like somebody died in the arena. I mean, like, first of all, my question is, like, do you not look at your bracket? You
Yeah.
obviously know you're gonna like.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious. This like came as a shock to them, and then it's like somebody died in the arena. Like that's all the answers we need right there.
Yeah.
Like they already lost.
Yeah.
So not the reaction you want to see if you're an Arizona fan, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
All right, we'll keep it moving. Calipari, since we had some conflicting thoughts in Calipari, that's a good place to go. I'll give you mine real short and simple. I'll let you talk about Calipari. I do
Hmm.
think Arkansas surprised me. I do think it's good for his legacy, all that stuff. Um, who's the coach at NC State?
Will Wade,
Yeah, right. Who's not the coach at NC State?
Calipari.
No, who used to be the coach at NC State? Let me phrase
Oh,
it.
Kevin Keats.
What did Kevin Keats do last year?
He went to the Final Four.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
all I'm
no, no,
saying,
no, no,
all,
no,
all
no,
I'm
no,
saying is,
no.
no, no. I just want to say that
Oh God.
I need now. I shouldn't need this, but based off of what Calipari's done in the past couple of years, I'm going to need to see him replicate this a little bit next year. He doesn't need to, if he goes to the Elite Eight this year, I don't need him to go back to Elite Eight next year. But I need to see Arkansas be better than they were this year to tell me that this was not kind of a bad season that is being. So what I meant by the Kevin Keats thing is, I don't want people to say, "Oh, John Calipari's back after a not so great season,"
He is
and then
back.
he gets lucky in the tournament.
Oh, he's back. And he's back. And he's ready. He's not done yet. He's not done.
I We'll see. We'll
He
see.
is back. They are gonna beat Texas Tech on Thursday.
I agree.
And then who would they play?
F.
Is it Florida?
With that in the bracket, yeah, they'd go Florida,
Well,
Maryland.
guess what? You know I love my double digit seeds. Give me them over Florida to go to the Final Four.
But I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying I don't know if that means he's back because Kevin Keats doesn't have a job right now.
But John Calipari is a way better coach than Kevin Keats ever will be, and John Calipari has more talent. This is not a typical 10 seed,
That's true.
an Arkansas 10 seed. And let me lay some stats on you. They shot 43% from the field in their 2 wins, but the best stat is they won. They shot a combined 17% from three. between the two games, and they're still winning because he's got talent. And you insert Thero back into the lineup Thursday. Boogie Flan's getting some more rest. This team might make a run to the Final Four. I'm getting excited. I have been rooting for John Calipari and waiting for this for years. And change of scenery. Look what happens. Here come the Hogs.
All right, so who makes it farther, Arkansas or Kentucky?
Arkansas, because I think Kentucky loses to Tennessee.
Okay. Do you think the Arkansas Tennessee winner they're playing Houston most likely? I don't think Purdue is much issue for
I
Tennessee.
hope so. I would love for it to happen, but most
You-
likely,
so you think let's say Kentucky beats Tennessee. Can they beat
oh,
Houston?
that'd be. So it would be Kentucky versus Houston or Kentucky versus Purdue.
Kentucky Houston.
Okay.
Do you think
I,
Kentucky can beat Houston?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. Kentucky, like I don't know, because like in the Illinois game, like they had a 20-point lead, and then Illinois got it to 6, and then they got it back to 20, and then they got it back to 6. Like you can't do that against Houston.
Yeah.
You have to be
Houston's
able. Yeah,
Houston's a much better offensive team this year than they have been
yes,
in the past.
for sure. In vice versa, I think if Tennessee plays Houston, I think the winner of that game might be the first team who gets to like 25 points
Yeah.
because I wonder at this point if Kentucky has um the defense because they're not a great defensive team, and I wonder if because I mean like Tennessee's not a deep team, but like Tennessee's long and Tennessee can play defense.
Yeah.
Yes, Kentucky beat Tennessee twice during the regular season, but like everybody's 0-0 now.
Yeah.
Tennessee's got really two convincing wins. Kentucky, I mean, if they basically scraped by Troy, they won by like 20, but it was pretty close.
Mhm.
And then they beat Illinois, but it wasn't that, you weren't wowed by it like you were watching Duke or something. I
And
think it'll
this,
be a
I was gonna say, I think there's a question too, right? How good is this Illinois team, right? That's a team that Duke beat by 45.
right,
That
exactly.
picked up a couple wins after
Yeah,
that, but this is not. That wasn't a true 6 seed.
right, exactly. It was more like an 8-9. Like
Yeah.
I think Illinois should have been flipped with Louisville.
Yeah.
I think Louisville got majorly underseeded.
Yeah.
Um, But the AC. I mean, geez, the AC. I put my faith in them for 1 year. I had Clemson going to the Elite Eight. I mean, I did have Louisville losing to Auburn, but still. But you had Louisville beating Auburn.
So skipping ahead for a second, first 1 seed to get knocked out. I mean, it might not be Auburn, but out of if you were ranking the 1 seeds right now, Auburn's got to be the worst.
Yeah, they're tied with Florida, and I almost called that Florida upset too. I mean, I had Oklahoma beating Florida, but I mean, like, yeah, but no,
I'll tell you what, I was surprised UConn kept it that close. I was
oh
surprised.
yeah, but no, I'm really regretting my Auburn pick now. I mean, they look not awful, but pretty next to it. I mean, like, I'm sorry, but like, how is Alabama State competing with you for 20 minutes?
Yep.
I was so angry watching that game on the airplane. I was like, you have to be kidding me. And then Creighton's up at half. Like, Creighton's not a great team. Like, Michigan kind of makes me nervous with Area 51. But then, like, what really makes me nervous is then if Chris Beard upsets Tom Izzo, then, like, that's going to be another upset because they're watching the whole 1983 Wolfpack documentary and they're playing a segment each day. And Chris Beard says they're going to finish watching it after the day after they win the championship. You're like, oh man, like Auburn's definitely going to lose to this team if they catch up. Like, I'm kind of regretting my pick now.
And Broom has not been good.
No.
Over the past, right? Auburn is something like, I want to say they're 3-3 in their last 6 games, right? Because
Yeah.
they were 1-3 in their last four, or that what they
Right.
went, yeah, and then they won these two.
Right.
And in that mix, like Broom is like, no way has he been the national player of the year in those games.
Right. And it's like, honestly, too, it's like, I'm sorry, Alabama State, but like, I don't even really count that as a game. Like, they're basically like 2 and 3,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he has just looked awful, especially in the Alabama State game. Like, I was like, dude, they're giving you 3 pointers for a reason because you can't shoot them.
Hmm.
And he just kept shooting. Like, he went 5 for 9 from the field. Like, you're the national player of the year. You can't be shooting five. You can't shoot 9 shots in a game.
Hmm.
Like, that can't happen. And then the Creighton game, uh, yeah, 4 for 13. Like, yeah, he had 12 rebounds, but like 8 points. Like, I'm like kind of disappointed right now. And I'm
Yeah.
like getting nervous because people are hyping up Michigan now because they beat Texas A&M. And that makes me sad because that shouldn't have happened. Because like we dominated that whole entire game, and then the universe just hates the Aggies for some reason, and then Michigan State's gonna be like, "Oh, rah rah, Dusty May," and then
Yeah. I just can't see like I can't see Auburn having the ability to just like switch gears
right,
and like turn it on. Like I
hmm
like sure maybe they can hang with Michigan and beat Michigan, but it
hmm
just this doesn't feel like a championship team.
right, yeah, and I feel at this point in the tournament, there's only about 3 teams that have that ability to like switch that gear,
Hmm.
to turn it on it. And I think it's Duke is number one. I think Michigan State is number two. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
like both games, Brian gave them a tough time too. But like even in the New Mexico game, is like New Mexico was up by 10, and then Michigan State was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
So they switched, and then kind of my last team to switch gears. Of course, I'm not. Oh, Alabama, of course. I mean, they totally have the guys to do that. But once again, Duke is at the top. I don't know if I can wear my yeah I can wear my Duke shirt because they're not playing Alabama yet. Even though I have Duke beating Alabama, my bracket is has no chance of winning anyway. So I would just love to see some upsets. Um, because I have to root for my SEC because we are dominating this tournament, and I want an All SEC Final Four. But I don't know how I feel about Chris Beard because I really don't like. I feel like I just don't like him as a coach.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
So on the SEC conversation, real quick, I I thought the first round was, whatever for the SEC. Like they won the games they're supposed to win. They kind of lost the games. I was sort of curious. I didn't think that they were as dominant as they could have been in that first set of games.
mm,
Um, but I mean, now to have was it seven in
yeah,
the Sweet 16,
hmm
um, with a likelihood of, I'd say, I mean, I guess those guys could, but you're probably getting at least 4 or 5 maybe to the Elite Eight.
yeah,
Uh,
and I'd say at least two in the Final Four.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's I mean, it's not like it's unrealistic to ask them to get 4 in the Final Four, right? They could do it, but like it's people are like, oh, well, the SEC, how good are they really, right? Because people are gonna say, oh, the Final Four was whatever, like Duke, Michigan State, Houston, and Florida. And they only got one team in, and Duke won the
Mm,
championship. And but like as you know, that doesn't the season isn't validated by the tournament. Anything can happen in
right,
the tournament.
right, yeah, exactly. Um, now again, you know the team I'm the least confident in to reach the Final Four. We're talking about in the Sweet 16 here. I think
Yeah,
Florida might get upset
by Maryland.
by Maryland. I do. Um, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was like, man, like I don't know, like Maryland barely beat Colorado State, but like it's true. Colorado State was a good 12. Like
Hmm.
they were a better team than I thought they were. And you take a team like that with Maryland. My only worry with Maryland is that their bench isn't that deep. But I mean, like you put Derek Queen out there and Julian Reese, it's like, you know, he's a 6'11" kid with handles like that. Chinyelu is not going to be able to guard him.
Hmm.
You can put Condon on him, which is what they probably should do, and have Chinyalu guard Reese. But I think that's gonna be a fantastic game. Yeah, they escaped the UConn game, and that's probably the I would argue that's probably the most heartbreaking loss in the tournament for a team. I mean, you lead for basically the whole second half, and one little 6-8-0 run, gives them the lead. But if I'm Todd Golden, I'm not feeling too confident like some of these other SEC teams that kind of rolled past their competition.
You don't think Florida's the favorite after they beat the best coach in the country?
I don't think so. I felt so bad for Danny Hurley. Like you
Or
can
do you
just
think
tell.
Florida's not the favorite because of how UConn got screwed over and cheated by the refs, so they actually didn't deserve to win the game.
I know you have something to say about this.
And then he cried himself a good cry afterwards.
He cares. He cares. He cares. He wants to have a normal off season. Doesn't want to have to throw out first pitches or anything like that.
Okay, serious question on Danny Hurley.
Is
I
this
have
is this serious? Like, will turn into not serious or?
no, because I have an answer. I'm torn. I think I know what the right answer is, but I could see both sides. Should he have just gone to coach the Lakers?
I don't know. That's a tough thing because like guys like that normally don't last long in the NBA.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
like Rick Pitino didn't last long, John Calipari didn't last long.
Yep.
Uh, I, I think he made the right decision staying where he was because, like, as an NBA coach, you really have what, like 2 years to put it together and then you're fired.
Yeah.
Like, he just won two national championships. They could win 4 games a year for the next 3 years and he'd be set
Yeah.
because, he's going to turn it around at some point. And, the NBA is just a whole different dynamic, than collegiate athletics.
Hmm.
Um, but it's tough. That's a tough way to go out. You know, their streak was broken. I think he made the right decision staying at UConn. I genuinely did feel bad for him because like you can see he actually cares about his players.
Hmm.
Like there were multiple coaches that have done that, and it's like nice to see. We all give him a bunch of hate and put the videos together of him storming on the refs and
Listen, it's
memes and
okay.
all that.
So what about when he what about when who was it, Creighton? We didn't talk about this when Creighton dunked it at the end of the game
Oh
and he
yeah, yeah,
started complaining about sportsmanship when a week
yeah.
earlier he was pulling up his rings.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that was after the game, though, not during the game.
I think we can all come to an agreement between the Duke haters and the Danny Hurley haters that he is the Grayson Allen of coaching.
No, 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 no. Grayson Allen is in his own category, and Danny Hurley is way more likable than Grayson Allen.
No, no
Yes,
way, no
yes,
way.
yes,
My
yes.
wife, my wife was cheering for UConn. I can't remember why. We were watching the game and she was saying something, but I think she's cheering for UConn because we're close. And then, oh, because they were playing Florida, and so since she went to Tennessee,
Mm.
so she was cheering for UConn. And I forget what came up, and I was like, "No, like, we're not cheering for him." And like something happened to him, and she's like, "Oh," I was like, "No, that guy's the biggest jerk on the face of the earth." So but it's I don't want to like we don't have to keep going on about Hurley, but I do think like in all seriousness, so I agree that going to the Lakers would have been a bad move. It was a smart move, but a bad move. He wouldn't have him and LeBron wouldn't have gotten along, I don't
Oh yeah,
think.
no, no, yeah.
Um, but I mean that there's some emotional instability there. I mean, like that rant after the game when again, similar. I only bring up Grayson Allen because there was that moment where Grayson had gotten in trouble for tripping those people a couple times and then got to the bench and kind of like had that meltdown. And that's kind of what this felt like with Dan Hurley, where like everyone's watching you. Everyone has been like, oh, Dan Hurley complains all the time, whines all the time. And then to go on that like tirade when there really wasn't like you guys choked, right? Like you had him on the ropes and like you choked.
Do you want me to answer this?
Go ahead.
I mean, I don't
I
know.
wore my Grayson Allen jersey at the road race.
I saw that. I saw you in your Grayson Allen jersey. That's how I knew it was like I saw I saw you and then I was like you just ran by me too quickly for me to shout out your name, but I saw your Grayson Allen jersey. I was like, oh no, we got to get you a new jersey. Like also side note, TJ Power is in the transfer portal. Just thought you'd
Yep.
want to know that. Maybe a
Yep.
possible, homecoming. But anyway, back to I mean, I just we could have done without the rant, but like in terms of the basketball sense, you really do feel for him because like I said, they were up for so many minutes in the second half, and then Walter Clayton makes a couple shots. Florida's a good team, don't get me wrong. So that's gonna be a really interesting game. Come Thursday.
Yep.
I'd love to see what Maryland can do against them. I think that was a good test against Colorado State. Um, I think that was the better matchup we all wanted to see. Like Colorado State's a good team, but you get the impression that they weren't going to be able to hang with
I
Florida.
I think yeah, from the physicality standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think Maryland's a little bit better equipped for that. So um, I feel for them, but March Madness, you got to be the best team. They weren't the best team. We all knew that going in.
Yep.
Nobody's really surprised, maybe except Danny Hurley. Um, yeah,
And sometimes right you're as we saw with Arkansas, right? Like you're kind of just a breakaway because if UConn takes down Florida, I
yep.
could see UConn be able to beat Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
like you're 2 minutes of good play away from maybe being an Elite Eight.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's why he cried. When you think of it like that.
All right, let's before we get into picks, because we kind of dabbled on with we touched upon most of the points. Um, who's been the most impressive player to you, or even like most impressive performance in a game?
So most impressive player performance, um, John Tanji from Wisconsin. I was not familiar with his game until I saw him just drop 37 points on BYU.
Hmm.
That was pretty impressive. I mean, and he's not like a flashy guy either. You get to the free throw line, 13 to 15 times in a game, you're going to set your team up pretty well. But, he's one of those like, when you think of like one of those like really smooth, players that isn't flashy, but like can get to the rim, just gets to his spot and just like torches you. Like he's one of those guys. Like he's an underrated leader, underrated player. Like he's got good size, he's got good muscle, he's got good length. Like he shredded BYU.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I was very impressed with that. My other one, if I can find it, might so that's my player. Do you want my team?
Yeah. Yeah. Give me a team.
It pains me to say this, but Ole Miss, I mean, they just demolished Iowa State.
Yep.
Like, you go up by 26 points on any team, like, you're good.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter
Iowa
what
State
team
is
you
without
are.
one of their
They
best players.
are. They are. But, like, Iowa State, they just smoked Lipscomb.
Hmm.
And Lipscomb's not a bad team. Um, so I guess if we're gonna pick one team in the Sweet 16 that I was very impressed with, because I already gave you my Arkansas
Yep.
uh hoorah. I would say Ole Miss, because our Ole Miss and Arkansas are the two ones that we like didn't really see coming
Hmm.
because everybody was like, oh, they're in because of the loaded SEC, like they're gonna be out first round, and like here they are.
Yep.
Um, so those are my two I'm impressed with. Rest were kind of expected. You can't say Duke. You have to say another team. And you can't say Cooper Flag or Tyrese Proctor either from Sunday. You have to say
Oh
someone
well.
else.
So I mean,
No, no.
I'm not. I wasn't gonna say them, but I'm not a Cooper Flag lover. But listen, that if Duke has been the most impressive team in the whole tournament, then and that win versus Butler was a good win, then how can you not be impressed by what Tyrese Proctor did?
No, you can't say that because you're biased.
Um, I would say team, just in general, or actually player, just in general. I'm going to throw you out a random one here. Um, is it? It's going to be real random. Let me pull it up and make sure I get the exact
Please don't
number.
say anybody from McNeese.
Nope, nope.
Oh, thank goodness.
Is it Grant Nelson? Is that the Alabama guy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Grant Nelson, I don't know what statistics are, but he had the knee injury. It was kind of questionable. Would he be super healthy? I saw him putting on the sleeve. It kind of was compressing everything. Didn't play a ton in the beginning of the game, and Alabama was, I mean, that was a tight game with Robert
Mm,
Morris. Like, and he came in and he made some game winning plays. And I don't know if they win that game without him.
hmm.
And again, I'm not going to look up the stats. I don't think it was anything great, right? He didn't put up like 25 and 10
Yeah.
or anything, but he scored when he needed to score. He adds stability when they need stability. And just without looking up anything, from a visual watching the game, I thought he was significant to them not getting upset there.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and then, you know what? I'll give you a team in a second, but we knew North Carolina was hot and cold and not that good, but maybe okay. I couldn't believe the beating they put on San Diego
Oh
State.
my goodness. I was watching that game and I was like, wow, I feel really great about my pick for them to beat Ole Miss. Like
Uh-huh.
they completely destroyed them.
Yeah.
Like if you turned around to get a drink of water, you came back to the TV and found the score 20-2. Like
Yep.
they just ripped them one.
Yeah. But I would say team wise, um, if I had to pick, um, if I'm not going to pick Arkansas,
Because you
um,
don't like John Calipari.
I don't, and I hate Nate Oates.
What if he
Uh,
plays Duke in the finals, John Calipari?
well, after Duke takes out Caleb Love, and then Nate Oates, and then John
Ah,
Calipari.
all
Um,
right, I'll give you my thing with Alabama after you pick your squad.
I think I'm gonna go with um, I think I'm gonna go with Maryland.
Mm,
Because Maryland's a team that I think people had been high on. I wasn't super high on them. Statistically, they had a good year, and whatever, crush Grand Canyon, but that's the 4-13 matchup. Sometimes you're a little tight. That showed they're ready to play. And I did like Colorado State.
hmm.
I think that one of these years a Mountain West team besides San Diego State is really going to break through. And Colorado State looked like one of the hottest teams in that conference. And sure, they only win by a point, but I think winning's important.
Yeah,
Uh, and dominating your first game,
hmm.
finding a way to win at the end of that game.
Right, a good
Uh,
test. Yeah.
yeah, I think that I you know I like kind of what they've put together. I wanted to say maybe Tennessee as well. But I think Tennessee is a team that's built to beat teams
Oh,
that they're
yeah.
better
Hmm.
than. They're not necessarily built to beat a team that's as good as them, right? Like a
Hmm.
like a Duke or a um like a Houston, right? Tennessee could beat them, but you're
Right.
not like, okay, like you're not feeling great about it. You
Hmm.
put Tennessee against anyone in like the 5 line and up, and you're like, Tennessee's probably got them. They're tough, they're strong, they can score enough points. Like Tennessee isn't as likely to kind of choke it away
Hmm.
because of the style that they play, because of who their coach is.
Right.
Um, they're not going to usually play down to their competition.
Hmm. Yeah. I 100% agree. Um, and like I said, it'll be interesting to just see what they can do um, in the Sweet 16 and possibly the Elite Eight.
Yep.
You never know what can happen. Um, yeah, I mean, speaking on that, should we get to our picks?
Yeah, Cole Pixon. All right.
Okay. We'll
Do like
let we'll
game by game.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. We'll start. I guess we'll start
We,
Auburn, Michigan.
we need something to play for since we're obviously not playing for our winning in our
Yep.
bracket challenge. So second chance bracket. Yeah, I mean, I think Auburn escapes, one more time after giving all the people who picked Auburn a heart attack. They pull away from Michigan. Um, but I think this will be a very close game. I think Janai Broom gets a little bit better, but still not to the point where we feel convinced that this Auburn team was the juggernaut that they were all year. I'd say probably the scores, within I'd say 8 to 12 points for this one.
All right. I'm gonna write these down here. Um,
We
I'm
actually
gonna
have to
go.
check them this time because we never do.
I know. I'm gonna go Michigan.
Okay.
You started saying Auburn, and I was like, you know what? I agree. And then all of a sudden, I remembered. I was like, Auburn just got Dusty May for coach, and I don't.
You
If
don't
this
like
was,
Bruce Pearl.
I hate Bruce Pearl. If this was a Juwan Howard led Michigan team,
You
I'd
would pick
say
Auburn?
give me Auburn. But I'm gonna go Michigan. I like the
Okay.
coaching. Ole Miss, Michigan State.
Uh, I'm sticking with Sparty here. Here's my
Oh,
issue.
that which would set up a very interesting Michigan State Michigan matchup.
Michigan State Auburn matchup. Um, here's my issue with Ole Miss. They are a great team. Sean Padula, Malik Dia, like they have experience with Matthew Morrell. They're just not. I just don't think they're tall enough to compete with Michigan State. I mean, like Michigan State has 3 7-footers that they play. They are a great offensive rebounding team. Jackson Kohler is a load inside, and then I just think Michigan State's also deeper than Ole Miss. Like it's pretty obvious that their best player has been Cone Carr, and like he's coming off the bench. Like Ole Miss doesn't have an electric guy like that comes off the bench. Like sure, Brakefield will come off the bench. Like obviously two really good players, but like I just feel that having that 10-11 man rotation in March is so helpful that none of those guys play really over 28 minutes. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ole Miss won, but they're going to have to keep it close. But I just think Sparty is too deep, and then you've got Tom Izzo who's used to this kind of role here. So I mean
Yep.
I'm sticking with my comfort food here.
Yep. I'm gonna say coaches win in March. I
Mm.
went with Dusty May, going with Tom Izzo.
And you don't
Uh,
like Chris Beard either.
I think Tom Izzo, his track record in March kind of proves itself. And we talked about this earlier in the year. Tom Izzo always seems to peak pretty well this season.
Right.
But in the past couple of years, Michigan State hasn't been a great regular season team.
Yeah.
Now they have been a good regular season
Right.
team. I'm interested to see
Yeah.
can they get better like they normally do, and if they can, I mean that's a great thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm in Michigan State. Florida, Maryland. I'll start us off. Give me coaches. I like Kevin Willard better.
I do.
Um,
I
I
do
I
too.
think I think until Florida can prove something to me, um, I'm gonna. I think they got shook a little bit in that UConn game, and yeah, I like Maryland there.
I do too. I think Maryland has the ability to combat all of Florida's strengths. Their bench worries me a little bit. But
Yes.
their guard play, if their guard play plays like it did the last 10 minutes of that Colorado State game, they should have no problem hanging on. This is not going to be a blowout or anything. This is probably going to be like a UConn game if it's
Mhm.
close, with the winner pulling away in the last 4 minutes. But yeah, I do like Maryland here. Good little upset.
We got Texas Tech and Arkansas.
Give me the Hogs. Coaches win in March. Guess what? You can't go back on that now.
Oh, I'm not going back on it. Trust me.
Coaches
I,
win in March.
I'm not going back on it, and I will be picking Grant McCaslin.
No, you literally said earlier in the podcast that you think Arkansas would beat Texas Tech.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pick Texas Tech.
You're such a hater.
And so
You're,
now we will move over to
you're a hater.
the Duke Arizona game, and we know who the best coach in that. Give me
Yeah,
Duke.
I mean, Duke is pretty good enough. What's the margin of victory there for Duke?
Uh, give me um
Over 17 points?
no
Really?
no. Give me give me about give me somewhere between 12 and a half and 15.
Okay. So still double digits. All
It's
right.
comfortable. I think it's very similar to the Baylor game.
Okay.
Arizona hangs around for a little bit and then
Mm-hmm.
just now uh Pat Pat Gumba
Mm.
has
He,
picked up he's picked up
yes.
three technical flagrants in the past couple games. He's getting under people's skin a little bit. Although in that last game,
Yes.
that was clearly I forget who was from Baylor, but the dude just dragged him to the ground.
No, they didn't get him for a foul, did they? I
They
thought they
got
only got the Baylor guy.
they got Pat for a foul, and then they got
Oh,
the other guy for a technical.
yeah, that was a hook and hold. That wasn't Pat Gumbo's fault at all.
Yeah. Um. All right, then we got BYU Alabama.
Coaches win in March. Give me Bama. Nate Oates just went to the Final Four. Here's the X factors for Alabama: LeBaron Philon, Cliff Amori, and Mo Diabate. If those guys show up, Alabama's advancing to the next round.
I'm gonna hate pick, and I'm gonna go with BYU.
You're
Um,
such a hater
well, here's the reason why I'm going BYU though.
because you hate
It,
Nate Oates for beating
no,
Bama back in Durham like 4 years ago.
this is a team that can offensively hang with Alabama.
Hmm.
They are one of the top offenses in the country. If this was any other team, I'm picking Alabama because I'm so confident in Alabama's offense. But
Hmm.
this is a team that Wisconsin's a great offensive team, and BYU it was close, but BYU beat them. I
Hmm.
think that they can hang. Do I feel confident about them being Alabama? Not necessarily, but I think they can hang for long enough, and
Mm.
Alabama doesn't play great defense
Okay.
that BYU can be in it. And since they can be in it, I'm going to pick them.
Okay.
Which then leaves us with is that the final one? There we got Houston. That it? Oh no, we got two more. Houston, Purdue.
As much as I would love for Purdue to win, it's not going to happen. I just think Houston's too good. I mean, like you said, they're better offensively. Um, and I mean, I just hate to play that Houston team. I mean, they are long. They have veterans. They have transfers. Like they have the full package deal, and they're always the least talked about one seed.
Yeah,
Um, Purdue. You know, I think it'll be a close game early on. If Purdue
yeah,
can hang around till about that 6 minute mark in the second half, they'll have a chance. But I mean, Houston just wears you down, and I think that that's why they're gonna come out with the win.
yeah. I agree. I think this Houston team beats the past couple years of Purdue teams.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I like Houston here, and
Hmm.
then Tennessee, Kentucky.
Uh, Give me Tennessee.
Yeah,
Um, Kentucky doesn't play defense. Tennessee does. Defense wins you championships. Um, Rick Barnes. I mean, Mark Pope is a good coach. Great job in year one, but I mean, this is what Rick Barnes does. He's another like Tom Izzo guy who just is always in this position. Zakai Ziegler, fantastic. Um, Chaz Lanier, fantastic. Like a whole bunch of guys that just go out, play their role, and that's why they win. And it's very hard to beat a team three times in a year.
hmm
Um, and I don't think Kentucky does it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kentucky kind of keeps it close, and I think Tennessee just kind of wears them down. They hit enough shots. It ultimately isn't crazy close. It's
Yeah.
within it's probably single digits, but it's more in
Mhm.
that 7 to 10 range.
Yeah.
Um, I think Tennessee just they have enough offensive power this year,
Hmm.
between Ziegler and Lanier that they they can score enough points.
Right.
They're probably not going to score 80 or 90, but they play good enough defense that if they score
Yeah.
75, that's going to win
They'll
them
get
the
away with it. Yep.
All right, so our only difference is Auburn, Michigan, and
Arkansas.
Bama, BYU. Oh yeah,
And
oh actually we got
in
three. Yeah,
Arkansas,
Bama,
because
BYU,
you
and
have
Arkansas.
some kind of bias against John Calipari. So,
Um, all
and
right,
Saturday to see how our picks age.
yep, yep. Two podcasts in a week.
And that'll actually be good because Duke will play Saturday, so it leaves
Yep,
out the danger as if they possibly lose. Then before you go dormant for a year, then
yep.
so it actually works out.
That 10 o'clock game, it's gonna hurt me.
Maybe
All
it'll
right,
start on time. You never know.
yeah, anything's possible.
I think it's possible.
All righty. Well, I'll let you get ready to get going. I'll get ready to get going, put the kids to bed. So, until Saturday.
Yeah,
All right.
go Hogs.